The vast expanse of space stretched out before the massive space station. It hung there, a gleaming jewel against the backdrop of stars. This was the headquarters of the Galactic Council, where representatives from 1,000 worlds came to discuss the fate of the galaxy. Inside the grand meeting hall, beings of all shapes and sizes gathered. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few were even made of living crystal. They chatted in a mix of languages, their translator devices working overtime to keep up. At the center of it all stood Zaxlor, the Galactic Council president. His blue skin shimmered under the bright lights as he called for order. "Friends, colleagues, let us begin our annual meeting," he said, his voice booming across the hall. The crowd quieted down, taking their seats. Holographic screens flickered to life, showing the agenda for the day. But there was an empty seat at the table, one that had been vacant for centuries. "As you can see," Zaxlor continued, "we have a new member joining us today. After years of observation and debate, we have decided to welcome humanity into our ranks." A murmur ran through the crowd. Humanity was young, barely out of their solar system. Some thought it was too soon, while others were curious about what the newcomers might bring to the table. The doors at the far end of the hall slid open with a hiss. In walked a group of humans, led by Ambassador Sarah Chen. She stood tall, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, her eyes scanning the room with a mix of awe and determination. "Welcome, Ambassador Chen," Zaxlor said, extending a three-fingered hand. "We are honored to have Earth join the Galactic Council." Sarah shook his hand firmly. "The honor is ours, President Zaxlor. We have much to learn, but also much to offer." As the human delegation took their seats, the other representatives watched them closely. The Valerians, with their insect-like features, clicked their mandibles in curiosity. The Zethians, beings of pure energy, glowed a little brighter in excitement. "Now," Zaxlor said, bringing everyone's attention back to the matter at hand, "let us review the state of the galaxy." The holographic displays change, showing maps of trade routes, reports on recent conflicts, and data on resource distribution. It was clear that tensions were high in some sectors, with smaller species feeling threatened by the expanding empires of larger ones. As the discussions went on, Sarah listened intently, occasionally whispering to her advisors. The humans were new to this galactic stage, but they were quick learners. They saw the alliances forming, the subtle power plays at work. One of the Zethians, a being named Lux, floated over to Sarah during a break. "We are glad to see Earth join us," Lux said, its voice a melodic hum. "Your species has shown remarkable progress in a short time." Sarah smiled. "Thank you, Lux. We're eager to contribute and to learn from all of you." As the meeting continued, it became clear that the galaxy was at a turning point. Resources were becoming scarce in some regions, leading to conflicts. The Drachma Empire, a warlike species, was pushing its borders further into neutral territory. "We must act," growled Krog, the representative of the warrior Ursi. "The Drachma cannot be allowed to expand unchecked." Debates raged on, with some calling for diplomatic solutions, others for economic sanctions, and a few even suggesting military action. Through it all, the human delegation watched and listened, gathering information and forming their own plans. As the first day of the meeting came to a close, Zaxlor called for a recess. "We will reconvene tomorrow to continue these important discussions," he announced. As the representatives filed out of the hall, many eyes turned to the humans. Some were curious, others wary. Nobody knew quite what to expect from this young species that had joined their ranks. Little did they know, humanity was about to shake the very foundations of the Galactic Council. For back on Earth, hidden from prying alien eyes, a project of unprecedented scale was nearing completion. A project that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Sarah Chen smiled to herself as she left the hall. Tomorrow would be an interesting day indeed. Deep within the heart of Earth's moon, hidden from the prying eyes of alien observers, a hive of activity buzzed day and night. This was the site of humanity's greatest secret, a mega shipyard unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. General Marcus Stone stood at the viewing deck, his stern face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. He watched as thousands of workers, like tiny ants, swarmed over the massive hull of their creation. "Status report," he barked into his communicator. Dr. Emily Sato's voice crackled through. "We're on schedule, General. The main reactor is online, and we're running final checks on the weapon systems." Marcus nodded, a rare smile crossing his face. "Excellent work, Doctor. We'll be ready for the unveiling right on time." As he spoke, a massive crane swung into view, carrying a piece of armor plating larger than a football field. With precision born from years of practice, the workers guided it into place, sealing another section of the ship's exterior. Meanwhile, in a lab deep within the lunar facility, Dr. Sato and her team were hard at work. Holographic models of complex machinery floated around them as they fine-tuned the ship's advanced systems. "The new quantum drive is performing beyond expectations," one of her assistants reported excitedly. "We're seeing efficiency levels that were thought to be theoretically impossible." Emily's eyes sparkled with pride. "That's what they said about half our systems. Humanity has always had a knack for achieving the impossible." Back on Earth, in the underground bunker of the United Earth Government, President Amelia Rodriguez sat in a tense meeting with her top advisors. "The Galactic Council suspects nothing," reported the head of intelligence, sliding a datapad across the table. "Our operatives have successfully kept the project hidden from even the most advanced alien scanning technologies." Amelia nodded, her face a mask of determination. "Good. We've come too far to risk exposure now. What's the status of our diplomatic team?" Ambassador Chen reports that the first day of the council meeting went smoothly. Another advisor chimed in. "The aliens seem curious about us, but not overly suspicious." "Perfect," Amelia said, leaning back in her chair. "Tomorrow, we change the course of galactic history." As night fell across the lunar surface, the activity in the shipyard only intensified. Engineers ran final diagnostics, weapons specialists calibrated massive gun turrets, and pilots familiarized themselves with the ship's advanced control systems. In his private quarters, Captain Jin Park studied the ship's blueprints for the 100th time. As the chosen commander of this behemoth, he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called out. Lieutenant Zoe Thompson stepped in, saluting crisply. "Sir, the crew is assembled and ready for your address." Jin took a deep breath and nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's not keep them waiting." They made their way to the ship's main hangar, where thousands of crew members stood at attention. As Jin stepped up to the podium, a hush fell over the crowd. "Men and women of Earth," he began, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. "Tomorrow, we unveil the fruit of our labor to the galaxy. This ship, this marvel of human ingenuity, will change everything. We carry with us the hopes and dreams of our entire species." The crew listened in rapt attention as Jin continued. "Some out there may fear us. Others may seek to challenge us. But with this ship, we will secure humanity's place among the stars. We will show the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." A thunderous cheer erupted from the assembled crew, their voices united in purpose and pride. As the final hours ticked by, last-minute preparations were made. The massive hangar doors slowly opened, revealing the star-studded expanse of space. With a low hum that grew to a mighty roar, the ship's engines came to life. General Stone watched from the control room as the magnificent vessel began to move. "Send the signal to our delegation," he ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." As the giant ship emerged from its lunar hiding place, its hull gleaming in the starlight, a message was transmitted across the vast distances of space. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Chen's communicator beeped softly. She read the message and allowed herself a small, knowing smile. Tomorrow would indeed be a day the galaxy would never forget. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement as representatives from across the galaxy took their seats. It was the second day of the annual meeting, and rumors of a big announcement had spread like wildfire. Ambassador Sarah Chen and her human delegation entered the room, their faces a mask of calm confidence. They nodded politely to the other species as they made their way to their designated area. President Zaxlor called the meeting to order, his blue skin shimmering under the bright lights. Esteemed colleagues, we have much to discuss today. But first, I believe our friends from Earth have an announcement to make. All eyes turned to the human delegation. Sarah stood up, her posture straight and proud. Thank you, President Zaxlor. Indeed, we do have something to share with the Council. She pressed a button on her wrist device, and a large holographic display flickered to life in the center of the hall. At first, it showed only the dark expanse of space. For years, Sarah began, her voice clear and strong. Humanity has worked tirelessly to prove our worth as members of this galactic community. Today, we unveil the culmination of our efforts. The hologram suddenly lit up with a bright flash. As the light faded, gasps echoed around the room. There, displayed in perfect detail, was a ship of impossible size. Behold, Sarah announced, the UES Titan, humanity's first galactic dreadnought. The hall erupted in a cacophony of shocked exclamations and hurried whispers. The ship on display was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Its hull gleamed with an unknown alloy, bristling with weapon systems that put most planetary defenses to shame. Krog, the Ursai representative, leaped to his feet. Impossible, he roared. No species could build such a vessel in secret. Sarah smiled calmly. I assure you, Krog, it is very real. In fact, the Titan is currently on its way to this very station. As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the council chamber. A frantic technician burst into the room. President Zaxlor, our long-range sensors have detected a massive object approaching at incredible speed. Zaxlor's eyes widened in shock. He turned to Sarah, his voice a mix of awe and concern. Ambassador Chen, what is the meaning of this? Peace, President Zaxlor, Sarah said, raising her hands in a calming gesture. The Titan comes in peace. We merely wish to offer a demonstration of its capabilities. Outside the station, space itself seemed to ripple. With a flash of blue light, the UES Titan emerged from its faster-than-light travel. It dwarfed the Council station, casting a shadow over the assembled diplomatic ships. Inside the Council chamber, the holographic display shifted to a live feed of the Titan's approach. The room fell silent as the enormity of the situation sank in. Captain Jin Park's face appeared on the screen. Greetings, Galactic Council. I am Captain Jin Park of the UES Titan. We come in peace and friendship. The silence was broken by a flurry of questions from the council members. How had humanity built such a ship? What were its capabilities? What did this mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? Sarah raised her hand, calling for quiet. My fellow council members, please, allow me to explain. Over the next hour, Sarah outlined the Titan's specifications. She spoke of its advanced propulsion systems, its revolutionary shields, and its unprecedented firepower. But she also emphasized its potential for peaceful missions, deep space exploration, rapid response to natural disasters, and defense against extragalactic threats. As she spoke, the mood in the chamber slowly shifted. Initial fear gave way to curiosity, and in some cases, cautious admiration. Lux, the Zethian representative, floated forward. This is indeed impressive, Ambassador Chen. But surely you understand our concerns. Such power in the hands of any one species. Sarah nodded solemnly. We do understand, Lux. That's why we're not here to dominate, but to cooperate. The Titan represents humanity's commitment to galactic peace and progress. We offer its services to the Council, to be used for the benefit of all. This declaration sent another wave of murmurs through the crowd. The implications were staggering. As the day wore on, debates raged and negotiations began. The galaxy's political landscape was shifting before their very eyes. And at the center of it all stood humanity, no longer the new kids on the block, but a force to be reckoned with in the cosmic arena. The unveiling of the UES Titan had thrown the Galactic Council into chaos. As the initial shock wore off, the true impact of humanity's revelation began to sink in. The Grand Hall, once a place of order and diplomacy, now buzzed with a mix of fear, admiration, and frenzied speculation. In one corner, a group of Valerians huddled together, their insect-like features twitching nervously. How could they hide such a thing? Chittered Zix, their lead diplomat. Our scouts report nothing unusual in their system. Clearly, their technology surpasses our own, replied another Valerian, mandibles clicking in agitation. We must reassess our stance towards these humans. Across the room, the crystalline Quartzians glimmered with excitement. Fascinating, exclaimed Prism, their chief scientist. The energy readings from that ship are off the charts. Think of what we could learn. But not all reactions were so positive. Krog, the Ursai representative, pounded his fist on the table. This is an outrage. He roared, his bear-like features contorted in anger. The humans have upset the balance of power. We cannot allow this to stand. Several other warrior races nodded in agreement, their hands instinctively moving to their weapons. The tension in the room was palpable. Lux, the Zethian energy being, floated between the groups, trying to calm the situation. Friends, let us not act hastily. Lux's melodious voice resonated. This is an opportunity for dialogue, not conflict. Meanwhile, the Drachma Empire's delegation sat in stony silence. Their expansionist plans, which had seemed unstoppable just yesterday, now lay in ruins. The lead Drachma, a reptilian creature named Sithor, narrowed his eyes at the human delegation. This changes everything, he hissed to his advisors. As debates raged on, smaller species saw an opportunity. The Nebulans, a race of gaseous beings often overlooked in galactic politics, approached Sarah Chen. Ambassador, their spokesman wheezed, we are impressed by your species' achievements. Perhaps we could discuss a mutual defense treaty. Similar scenes played out across the hall as alliances shifted and new diplomatic overtures were made. The galaxy's political landscape was being redrawn in real time. President Saxlor struggled to maintain order. Please, esteemed colleagues, he called out, his voice barely audible over the commotion. We must approach this rationally. But rationality seemed in short supply. The Psyches, a race of powerful telepaths, were overwhelmed by the emotional turmoil in the room. The fear, the excitement, it's too much. One of them cried out, collapsing into their chair. Outside the council chamber, news of the Titan spread quickly. On thousands of worlds across the galaxy, beings of all kinds looked up at their skies with new wonder and trepidation. Back in the hall, a small group of ancient races watched the proceedings with quiet interest. The Eternals, beings who had seen civilizations rise and fall over millennia, exchanged knowing glances. It has been long since we've seen such potential, one Eternal mused, his age-old eyes twinkling. These humans may yet surprise us all. As the day wore on, the initial shock began to give way to more practical concerns. The Galactic Economics Committee huddled in urgent discussion, trying to calculate the impact of the Titan on trade routes and resource distribution. If the humans can build one such ship, they can build more, muttered Glix, a shrewd Ferengi-like trader. We must secure contracts with them immediately. Military strategists from various species pored over the Titan's specifications, their faces growing increasingly pale. Our entire defense fleet wouldn't stand a chance, one Zygon commander admitted grudgingly. As night fell on the council station, the delegates retired to their quarters, minds racing with the implications of the day's events. Many placed urgent calls back to their homeworlds, seeking new instructions. In her own room, Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile. Phase 1 of humanity's plan had been a success. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, she could savor this moment. The UES Titan hung in space outside, a silent guardian and a powerful symbol. Its presence was a constant reminder to all. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. As the third day of the Galactic Council meeting dawned, anticipation filled the air. Today, humanity would showcase the technical marvels of the UES Titan. The Grand Hall was packed, with even standing room becoming scarce as representatives jostled for a better view. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center, flanked by Earth's top scientists and engineers. Behind them, a massive holographic display flickered to life, showing a detailed cross-section of the Titan. Esteemed colleagues, Sarah began, her voice clear and confident. Today we will explain the key features that make the Titan a leap forward in space technology. Dr. Emily Sato stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with pride. Let's start with the heart of the ship, its power source. The hologram zoomed in on a pulsing blue core. This is our quantum fusion reactor, Dr. Sato explained. It harnesses the power of artificial quantum singularities, providing nearly limitless energy. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the audience. The Zygon's chief scientist fainted, overwhelmed by the implications. Next, Captain Jin Park took the floor. The Titan's defense systems are equally groundbreaking, he said, highlighting a shimmering field around the ship's hull. Our multiphasic shields can adapt to any form of energy weapon, Jin explained. They learn and evolve during combat, becoming stronger with each attack. Krog, the Ursai representative, growled in frustration. Their most powerful weapons would be useless against such defenses. The presentation continued, each revelation more astounding than the last. The Titan's faster-than-light drive could cross the galaxy in days. Its sensors could detect ships in other dimensions. Its medical bay could regrow limbs and cure diseases thought incurable. But it was the ship's main weapon that truly shocked the Council. Dr. Sato revealed a massive cannon that ran the length of the ship. The graviton cannon, she said, her voice filled with awe. It can alter the fabric of space-time itself, creating or collapsing singularities at will. A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Such a weapon could reshape planets or destroy entire star systems. Sensing the growing unease, Sarah quickly added, "But the Titan is not just a weapon of war. Its true power lies in its potential for peace and discovery." She went on to explain how the ship's technology could be used for peaceful purposes. Its energy systems could power whole planets. Its medical technology could save billions of lives. Its sensors could unlock the mysteries of the universe. As the presentation concluded, the Council erupted into a frenzy of questions. How did humans develop these technologies? Were they willing to share? What safeguards were in place? Sarah answered each query patiently, emphasizing humanity's commitment to galactic cooperation. "We stand ready to work with all species for the betterment of the galaxy," she declared. Meanwhile, on board the Titan itself, General Stone conducted tours for select representatives. The ship's vast corridors and advanced systems left the visitors in awe. In the engine room, a group of Quartzian engineers marveled at the quantum core. "Incredible," one crystalline being chimed. "This technology is centuries ahead of our own." On the bridge, alien diplomats watched in amazement as the crew effortlessly maneuvered the massive ship. The neural interfaces and AI assistants allowed a small team to control the behemoth with ease. As the day progressed, the initial fear began to give way to excitement and possibility. Many species saw the potential for collaboration and growth. The Eternals, in particular, seemed pleased. "It has been too long since we've seen such innovation," one ancient being mused. "Perhaps these humans will usher in a new golden age for our galaxy." Not everyone was convinced, of course. The Drachma Empire and other militant species saw the Titan as a threat to their power. Secret meetings were held, alliances formed, as they plotted how to respond to this new challenge. As night fell on the Council station, Sarah Chen stood by a window, gazing at the Titan. The massive ship gleamed in the starlight, a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. "We've changed everything," she whispered to herself. "For better or worse, the galaxy will never be the same." With the technical reveal complete, the stage was set for the next phase of humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage. The coming days would determine whether the Titan would be a force for peace or a catalyst for conflict. One thing was certain: the age of humanity had begun, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath in anticipation of what would come next. The fourth day of the Galactic Council meeting dawned with a tense atmosphere. The initial awe of the UES Titan's reveal had given way to serious political considerations. The Grand Hall, usually a place of orderly debate, now resembled a chaotic marketplace of shouted arguments and hurried whispers. President Zaxlor called the session to order, his usual calm demeanor strained. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, "we must address the significant changes brought about by humanity's revelation." No sooner had he finished speaking than a dozen representatives shot to their feet, each demanding to be heard first. Krog, the Ursai warrior, won out through sheer volume. "This human weapon changes everything," he roared. "We demand they share this technology with all council races immediately." Ambassador Sarah Chen stood calmly, her voice level. "The Titan is not merely a weapon, Representative Krog. As we explained, its potential for peaceful applications is vast." "Peace," scoffed Sesthor of the Drachma Empire. "A ship that size, with that much power, threatens the very stability of our galaxy." The debate raged on, with factions quickly forming. Some species, like the scientifically minded Quartzians, were eager to collaborate with humans. Others, particularly those with militaristic or expansionist agendas, saw the Titan as a dire threat. Lux, the Zethian energy being, tried to mediate. "Friends, let us not let fear drive us to rash actions. This could be an opportunity for unprecedented growth and cooperation." But fear was a powerful motivator. Several smaller races, feeling vulnerable, began to form a coalition. Their spokesman, a reptilian saurian, addressed the council. "We propose a motion to limit human expansion and technology sharing until we can be assured of their peaceful intentions," he hissed. This proposal sparked a new round of heated debates. The human delegation found themselves at the center of a political storm, fielding questions, demands, and thinly veiled threats from all sides. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner, the Valerians huddled with the Psyches, their telepathic abilities working overtime to gauge the true intentions of various species. "The currents of thought are turbulent," one Psyche murmured. "Danger and opportunity swirl together." As the day wore on, it became clear that the galaxy was dividing into three main camps: those who welcomed human advancement, those who feared it, and those trying to profit from the chaos. The Eternals watched the proceedings with growing concern. One of them, a being who had seen millennia pass, approached Sarah Chen during a brief recess. "Young one," the ancient being said, its voice like rustling leaves, "your species stands at a crossroads. The path you choose now will echo through the ages." Sarah nodded solemnly, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "We understand," she replied. "We came here not to dominate, but to join a community of equals. We hope our actions will prove our sincerity." Back in the main hall, negotiations had taken a practical turn. The Galactic Economics Committee presented a report on the potential impact of human technology on trade routes and resource distribution. If implemented carefully, the lead economist explained, human advancements could usher in an era of unprecedented prosperity for all. This seemed to sway some of the undecided species. Talks of trade deals and technology exchanges began to replace the earlier hostile rhetoric, but not everyone was convinced. In a shadowy alcove, representatives from the Drachma Empire met with other militant species. "We cannot allow the humans to upset the balance of power," Sesthor whispered. "We must act, and soon." As the session neared its end, President Zaxlor called for a vote on the Saurian proposal to limit human activities. The tension in the room was palpable as the votes were cast. To everyone's surprise, the motion was narrowly defeated. More species than expected had chosen to embrace the potential of human cooperation rather than fear it. Sarah Chen breathed a sigh of relief, but she knew this was just the beginning. The real work of integration and trust-building lay ahead. As the delegates filed out of the hall, exhausted from the day's political battles, a sense of cautious optimism began to take hold. The galaxy was changing, but perhaps, just perhaps, it was changing for the better. The UES Titan continued its silent vigil outside the station, a symbol of both the challenges and the incredible possibilities that lay ahead for this new, human-inclusive galactic community. The final day of the Galactic Council meeting arrived, bringing with it a sense of anticipation and uncertainty. The revelation of the UES Titan had reshaped galactic politics in ways no one could have predicted. Now, as the delegates gathered for the last time, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the assembly, her posture confident but her eyes betraying the weight of responsibility she carried. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, "over the past days, we have shared with you our achievements, our goals, and our vision for the future. Now, we would like to present our proposal for humanity's role in this grand community of stars." The hall fell silent as Sarah outlined humanity's plan. They offered to use the Titan's advanced medical technology to cure diseases that had plagued other species for centuries. They proposed using their quantum energy systems to power struggling colonies on the galactic fringe. They even suggested using the ship's powerful sensors to explore uncharted regions of space, sharing the discoveries with all. "We do not seek to dominate," Sarah emphasized, her voice ringing clear. "We seek to contribute, to learn, and to grow alongside you all." As she spoke, the mood in the chamber began to shift. Species that had been wary now looked intrigued. Those that had been hostile seemed less certain of their stance. Lux, the Zethian representative, was the first to respond. "The humans speak of cooperation and mutual benefit, the energy being glowed brightly. I believe we should give them this chance." Krog, the Ursai warrior who had been one of humanity's loudest critics, grudgingly nodded. "Their weapons are mighty," he growled, "but if they choose to use this might for the good of all, the Ursai will stand with them." Not everyone was convinced, of course. Thor of the Drachma Empire hissed in disapproval, but found himself increasingly isolated as more species voiced their support for the humans. President Zaxlor called for a vote on accepting humanity's proposal and formally recognizing their new status in the galactic community. The chamber buzzed with activity as delegates cast their votes. As the results were tallied, a hush fell over the crowd. President Zaxlor's voice rang out. "The motion passes. We welcome humanity as full members of the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities that entails." Cheers erupted from many corners of the room. Even some of the more cautious species allowed themselves to celebrate. It was a historic moment, the dawn of a new era in galactic politics. But Sarah and her team knew that the real work was just beginning. As the formal meeting concluded, they found themselves swarmed by representatives from various species, all eager to discuss cooperation, trade deals, and cultural exchanges. The Korchians were particularly excited about joint scientific ventures. "Imagine what we could discover together." Their chief scientists chimed enthusiastically. Even the Eternals, usually aloof from galactic politics, approached the human delegation. "You have chosen a difficult path, one ancient being intoned, but one with great potential. We will be watching your progress with great interest." As the day wore on, the implications of humanity's new role began to sink in. Ships were dispatched to Earth to establish embassies. Plans were made for galactic conferences to be held on human worlds. The UES Titan was scheduled for a tour of key systems, both as a gesture of friendship and a subtle reminder of human capabilities. But challenges remained. In shadowy corners, representatives of the Drachma Empire and other disgruntled species plotted their responses. The galaxy was changing, and not everyone was happy about it. As the council station began to empty, delegates returning to their homeworlds, Sarah Chen stood by a viewport, gazing out at the stars. The UES Titan loomed large in the foreground, a symbol of both humanity's achievements and the responsibilities they now faced. Captain Jin Park joined her, his uniform crisp and his expression thoughtful. "It's not going to be easy," he said quietly. Sarah nodded. "No, it won't be. But I believe we're ready for this. We've taken our first steps into a larger world, and we'll face whatever comes together." As if in response, the Titan's engines flared to life, preparing for its maiden voyage as a ship of peace and exploration. The assembled diplomatic vessels of 100 worlds fell into formation around it, a physical representation of the new alliances forming. Together, this fleet of diverse ships began to move away from the Council Station, embarking on a journey into an uncertain but hopeful future. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again.